Yeah, man. So, like I was saying, man, we had some epic battles, man. Talk to us a little bit about those Mint Hill Beatty Ford battles, man. Like I said, that first one was not a battle. That was just me getting thrown to
So
the
let me
wolves.
tell you a little bit about the Beatty-Ford Road thing. So I was actually on the executive board at Pop Warner when Beatty-Ford applied. So I was a big part of bringing those guys in, bringing you guys in
Mhm.
to Pop Warner originally, and so you guys had some growing pains establishing the program, getting it off the ground as far as from a competitive standpoint, because we were pretty deep rooted at that point in time
Mhm.
here, and um, and then of course, going to the GCYA, same deal. When you guys called, I was like, man, I opened my arms up. Come on.
Yeah,
And part of that was is because it was good, hard nosed battle football.
absolutely.
And don't get me wrong, we were competitive and we had our arguments and
Absolutely.
yelling at each other and but at the end of the day we all shook hands and had great respect for each other. And
Absolutely.
that's kind of the name of
That's
the
what it
game is
is.
it was just great respect for one another and what we were trying to accomplish. And man, I will say this. I was thinking about this on the drive over. From 2004 until I retired in 2010, we didn't lose but one game locally, and we lost that in an overtime game to Beatty's Ford Road, which was Greg and yourself coaching, and that's the only game I lost in that. It's about a 7 year span locally, and um, it was a hard fought. I think it was a 1 point game, 1 score game, seven to
Yeah,
six or
man.
something like that. I think y'all kicked the extra point to win.
Two
Yeah, two
overtime. Yep.
overtimes. Yeah, yeah. And man, I was like, God, dog it. And but they were just epic, epic battles. And then of course we had to square off and play each other in the playoffs to get a chance to move on. And
Mhm.
and we got lucky and pulled that one out. But they were just battles. You knew every game what you were in for,
Yep.
and you prepared for it. And you prepared hard during the week, and there wasn't no gimmies.
Nah, man. And after you left, it was kind of like it still was a battle. Uh, the thing is it was almost like you almost want to lose the regular season game because you probably can win the championship game
Yeah,
because no one's gonna beat each other
no,
twice.
no, it's tough.
So it's like I don't really mind losing that regular season game. Now I get to prepare for them a little bit more. But man, I tell you what, those were some great battles, man. And I feel like after you guys left and you transitioned to the GCYA or GC Pop Warner kind of got a little. It wasn't as competitive. So talk about that transition and why you kind of got out of Pop Warner.
Like I said, I liked Pop Warner. I didn't have any problem. The problem with Pop Warner is it's weighted
Hmm.
and it's difficult to. I mean, you can give your high school some skill players out of that, but it's difficult to help them with linemen and
Absolutely.
linebackers and some of that. But we liked it. It's just locally, the local organization here always wanted to run stricter rules than the national, and it made it very difficult at the national level to compete. Quite honestly, we got to winning around here quite a bit, and they didn't like it.
Right.
Um,
We
so
know. We know the
we
feeling.
had a we had a little disagreement after we won the Optimus Bowl in 2006, and so I left and joined NCYFL that year was intending on taking one team and had talked to Mint Hill Athletic Association about because that group of kids was Wiggins and Ferguson and Glisson. They had pretty much aged out of Pop Warner anyway, or sized out of Pop Warner anyway. So I said, hey, we're going to take one team, try this NCYFL thing, um, and then if it works, we'll get out of Pop Warner altogether.
Yep.
Well, MHAA took the side of Pop Warner and decided they didn't need me, and so I said, okay, I'll start my own organization, and really had only intentions of starting with one team, but every coach, head coach in the Mint Hill Panther organization said if Fairfax goes, we're going with him. So all of a sudden, I'm starting a new organization, um, and instead of one team, I don't know, we had eight,
Hmm.
and I had zero equipment, and I didn't have an athletic association behind me. But we started the program up, and we came here, and I had all the contacts for the fields, and we started, and I helped Rick Emmerich run that league, wrote his rule book for him, and We won every A's division our first year in NCYFL except for the pro division.
Hmm.
And I'll never forget it. I went to the very first meeting, and Doc,
Hmm.
remember Doc had the Tar
Yeah,
Heels.
yeah.
He walked right up to me, shook my hand, and told me they were just going to whip our ass. And Larry Kennedy looked at me and said, "Don't worry about it, bro. He does that to everybody."
Larry Kennedy, another legend.
And that didn't happen well for him. We won every age group that first year except the pro division, um, and we were only there 1 year. My team was a junior midget team. We went on and won the national championship um, in '07, and we left after that. We had a disagreement and what the real purpose of youth football was in this city.
Right.
And me and about 6 other guys took a chance on each other and left and started the GCYAA,
Hmm.
which is now the GCYAF,
I
I
don't know
think,
what it is.
AYF, whatever it is
Yeah, it was
today.
someone of those
But
letters.
man, we all looked at each other in the room terrified because I had equipment, but nobody else did. And they were starting their organizations. And, it was myself, Ray Green, Osai, Kenny, Lorenzo, Avery Wilkerson, Mel King, rest his soul. Um, I may be missing if I'm missing somebody. I'm an old man now. I don't have I have a great memory anymore.
G Top.
G Top came in. They came in later. They weren't in the first year. They came in a little bit a year or so later as other teams. It's just like Beatty Ford came in.
Yeah.
I think
We
that
brought
our
in one team
yeah
first
that
year,
second year y'all brought in one team.
our junior midget team.
And so we started that league, and I had to say it was tough. If it was not for my wife, none of this would have happened because I was really working in Winston and traveling on the road too.
Hmm.
And I was coaching a team, running an organization, and then running a league, and it was tough. It was tough, but we had a lot of good people.
Yeah.
Um,
I would say one thing. I'm gonna kind of go back and we'll come back. Um, what do you think some of the key elements are in developing football players? We mentioned toughness, because when we look at it today, I know you have been around a while, but when I see it now, it's basically a skill guy sport now. With the spread and all these crazy offenses, so the linemen kind of get neglected. And that was the one thing I always liked about playing with you guys against you guys because your linemen were going to be solid. And I think that's one of the huge disconnects in development, man. So what do you think some of the key elements are for developing a kid for the next level of football?
well, I'm gonna say this about that's one of the first things that I realized is a lot of teams just they want to throw kids at what we'll call them must play kids. Okay, they want to throw them on the offensive line or they want to throw them on the defensive line. Big mistake.
Big mistake.
So our linemen could have been a fullback or a tight end for somebody. In fact, in these two national championship years, our backup quarterback was the offensive tackle, believe that or not. Okay. Um, and so everybody just would throw that, and we developed those. I had a couple great coaches. Paul Susanovich. Paul was probably one of the best offensive line coaches I've ever seen. And he took to the line, and my son Brian loved coaching defensive line, and we developed those kids.
Hmm.
And
Trenches.
trenches.
That's
I
where it is.
mean, trenches, and it's tough. Everybody glamorous wants to be a receiver, a running
Absolutely.
back, or a quarterback, but you don't win without those guys up front. That
Absolutely.
game is one up front. It's one up front, even at the youth level. It's one up front at the pro level. For us, it was developing offensive and defensive linemen. We ran schemes. We didn't. I mean, if you looked at some of our playbooks, you would look at that and say, "Wait a minute, come on, man, this is youth football." We ran schemes. Um, we ran a 4-4 and had various blitz packages in
Hmm.
this thing. And you talked about handing the ball off to Demetrius and running up the middle. Well, we were audibling too. We watched game film. We filmed it.
Right.
We filmed everybody we were going to play,
Absolutely.
and we would have a session with the players and break down film. Kids loved that, and they got behind learning the game and breaking down film and watching tendencies. And oh, this guy, they run right 8 out of 10 times.
Mm-hmm.
So we
Take
broke
it
down
away.
we broke down film. We prepared every week for our upcoming opponent. We just didn't show up and practice. We prepared for who we were getting ready to play and what they did and what they were good at. And our deal was we're going to take that away, and they're going to have to beat us some other way because we're going to take their strengths away from them. And so it was really just education. It's just
Mm-hmm.
really this game's a lot more mental
Absolutely.
than I think
The physical part is
than I
take care of
think
yourself.
people realize. And that was the big thing. I mean, we worked hard, and we ran hills, and we practiced hard. But I'll tell you another thing that we did that people just couldn't believe. We didn't tackle in scrimmage in practice. We thud scrimmaged. Okay. Well, now we did tackling drills religiously. Okay, we'd have a circuit of tackling drills, and we taught the fundamentals of tackling just to be safe with all the kids. But during the week, we didn't tackle.
Save the body.
We saved the body. We thud tackle. We'd hit, wrap, drive legs, and stop. Never take anybody to the ground.
Risk
And
injuries.
people would say, dude, are they going to be ready on the weekends? I said, yeah, think about it like this. You don't feed your dog all week, and then you feed him at the end of the
Boy,
week.
he gonna go
And
crazy.
he's starving.
He gonna go crazy.
So we'd show up on Saturdays, and those kids were just dying to hit somebody. And we try to take care of them during the week and practice hard, but still take care of the body. We conditioned a lot. We fooled them a lot. One of the first things we would do in practice as a conditioning drill, but it helped in football, is we did pursuit angles.
Yep.
So we'd line the defense up, and we would run pursuit angles. We'd get a running back or sometimes a coach pitch them the ball and run a sweep in pursuit angles.
All
And
the way down the line.
people think the safety is the last line of no. It's the backside corner is the last guy.
Absolutely.
And he's got the deepest angle to take.
Yep.
So that was part of we did that every practice.
Yep.
After we did our stretches and warm-ups, we ran
fundamentals,
pursuit angles.
man.
Fundamentals. We ran pursuit angles. But it was just education.
Yeah.
It's just education.
And to your point, man, I remember coming out there with a playbook for my defense, which is pretty much unheard of. You don't really have it. But I had a playbook. And people are like, these guys don't understand. They're not gonna understand. I was like, they're doing something they love.
Oh, God.
Their job is to learn. They're students. So if you're teaching them something they love, trust me, man, I was doing everything on the sideline from hand signals or numbers, calling for, those kids understood it because, like you said, they know a whole lot more than you think they know. And if you don't teach them, how you gonna know they don't know, right? So I always looked at it, and I think that's one of the reasons why all of our kids were prepared to go to high school because they understood how the game was taught. You know what I'm saying? They understand the whys of what they're doing. So, having said that, man, let's run off some of them names, man, of some of the kids.
Let me give you this. Since you said it,
I already knew you was gonna bring it out.
I got to bring it out. So this was my play call sheet on the sideline.
That was like an NFL sheet.
This was a play call sheet. Okay, and we had, for example, we had 2 no huddles. We had Thunder, we had Lightning, and all the kids, linemen included, had wristbands on, and I could call anyone at any time. And there was a sequence of plays, and they looked at their wristband and they ran them in order, and they would run it, and we would never huddle. I'll give you a play.
Y'all started that tush push too.
I'll give you we did. We ran a wedge. I'll give you a play call right here. Let me give you one. And you got to remember, now this was probably 11 and 12-year-old kids. I write X over, zip, 48 jet. I mean, you got to speak a language to understand that. You got to speak the football language to understand that. So not only offensively did we have that, but we had a 2-page defensive playbook as well with all of our blitz schemes, packages in it.
Yeah, like I said, I ran a 4-4, which could be a 5-2 or 5-3 or 4-3, depends on what you're doing, and depending on what I'm looking at. And those kids picked it up right away. It's only just moving the linebacker, the outside linebacker down, basically over or under. But And I think that's why a lot of our kids went on like we junior midget level. Some of those kids would age out, go to high school, start right away. So having said that, we kind of talked about this before we got on air. Some of the players that you coach from youth and went on to be some phenomenal high school players, even college players, and a couple of them even played some pro ball at the level. So kind of run down the list of
I
these
don't want to
guys,
I
man.
don't want to miss anybody, but I
Just
mean
went off the
I
top of
mean
your head.
over the years it just it was just amazing to coach some of the kids at the early levels. I had this kid named Michael Simpson. They called him Superman Simpson. I don't even know if Mike played high school ball or not, but he should have. But he was just talented. Now he played on the Optimus Bowl team. I lost to Sammy Shannon, Freedom Drive. They beat us that year, but he was a phenomenal player. A little kid that played at Mallory Creek over here, Brandon Key, was amazing. He started with Harrisburg Cowboys, and then they came over here. And I had a real special group um, that started together at 7 and stayed together. Some of them I was the only coach they ever had. Riley Ferguson, quarterback, went to Butler, won a couple of state championships. Josh Glisson, amazing
Crazy
running back,
back.
just phenomenal. Same deal. He was in that Butler group. Sean Wiggins, Uriah LeMay, coached his younger brother Benny, coached Anthony
Mm-hmm.
Ratliff. Man, he was special. Jalen Cowser.
Yep.
There was so many
So
kids.
many of them, man.
Joey Moody, just so many kids that were really just talented football players. Fell in love with the sport, and some played high school, and that was it. Some went to college, and some had some spot opportunities in the
Yeah.
pros. And
Anthony's
it's
still
just
playing. He's playing with the Houston
Anthony's still
Roughnecks.
playing.
Yep.
Um, a
Him,
lot of
as a matter of fact, him and Benny were teammates
yeah,
at the Houston Gamblers on the
really,
XFL,
yeah.
USFL. I think it was 2 seasons ago, man. So that was pretty cool to watch them
It was,
from youth football to pro football.
Benny always had to play up
Yeah,
because
man.
of his
Oh my
size.
God, I remember
And then
playing that guy.
finally,
Fifth grade, he was a
in
monster.
the eighth grade team that he and Anthony were together on, with Cowser and Dion Washington, Demetrius Camp. That was an
A
incredible
loaded
team.
team, man.
That team was
That was loaded.
Tony Worthy. That team was
Yeah.
loaded. It was loaded. But he finally got to play with kids basically his age.
Yep.
Because I remember we played the junior midget. We played I can't remember the name of that team in the Atlantic Division for chance to go to nationals. They always beat everybody. And they came up and they said, "You think you're gonna play against us with a fifth grade running back?" And I said,
Boy,
"Boys,
you ain't never seen one like
you,
that.
you ain't never seen a
You
fifth
ain't
grade
never
running
seen a
back like this
You
kid."
ain't never seen
And
one
after the
like that,
game, they
boy.
were like,
Yeah, man. We
I was
had a
like, no,
rough
I
time with
told
that
you
boy.
he was legit.
Yeah, man. He was
But man, I just had, his brother Uriah was, he played receiver for us, and then he played him a little bit at H back, and he played defensive end for us, and he was phenomenal. But just had the pleasure of getting to coach a lot of really talented kids.
Mhm.
Just blessed that I got to meet those families and coach those kids, and you know, there was just a lot
Yeah,
over the
man.
years. I mean,
I'll tell you one of the cool things is even though we had our battles, our differences, and all our battles were between the lines, nothing ever went outside of that. But from a respect standpoint, I remember we would send our kids over there because we didn't have an eighth grade program.
yep.
So we sent our guys like, hey man, you want to keep playing? Look, you need to go over and play with those guys over at Mint Hill, man. I think you were the Chargers at that point,
Yep,
that
yep,
eighth grade team.
yep.
So that was huge, man. So we definitely thank you, man, for helping develop those players even further down the road, man. So let's talk about some of your championships, man. Let's run down the list of them, man. How many state championships? How many national championships?